Alright, so finally getting around to making this video. This is going to be my video over the first individual Proving Grounds match that we did this year. I'll keep this intro short. We'll go ahead and get into the match footage. Once we finish the match footage, we'll come back. I'll talk about all the gear I was using, and then we'll go back, talk about all the stages, and then wrap up the video.
Shooter, are you ready?
Ready.
Stand by, go!
Get it. Oh, come on.
That was the last one. You got second to last. You got second to last, and then the last. That looks so clear. Hustle, go.
Alright, 4 targets, left to right. Twice. Remember, retain mag. One more position. 2 targets left to right twice. Alright, unload. Clear. Clear. Yep, grab the other mag. Alright, go get your flag. Clear.
There.
You didn't come out.
Oh no.
There you go. Clear. 20630.
That was rough.
Man, what was your rifle? Light strike?
I don't know. It's Kel Tec things.
Huh? Kel Tec things? move to a port. No, you gotta move, shoot from a port.
Oh, that's right.
Hit! Hit!
Oh, come on.
Hit! 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 Unload, show clear. Got you, man. Go take off. Okay, man, trying for a kick. Same placement. Take off. Hey man, grabbing the tire. Get ready to stop. Drop by the driver's side headlight. Unload, show clear for me. Oh, all right, good deal. Gonna holster up. Awesome. 22098. 22098. Hey, good job, man.
Thank you.
Awesome, man. This is for me, not for you.
I did that for like pound quad every day.
Are you ready?
I ended up
Yep.
4th place by like 3 points. I'm like, oh, who knows if I just had on you, left or right? Hit. 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 Hit.
Twice, right?
Yep, do it again, left to right.
Oh, come on.
Hit. 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 Almost so clear. Clear. going up the hill.
Pistol right here. Left to right, one hit each. Hit, hit, hit. Hit. All right, next one. Hit. 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 All right, unload your clear. Good to go.
All right, rifle, left to right, one round each. You gotta do it twice, okay? Hit. Hit. Hit.
Oops.
Hit. Do it again. Hit. 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 Safe. Good shit. Do it again. Hit. Between two trees. Hit. 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 Show clear. Go ahead.
Where'd that mag go?
Hold on. It's right here. Go.
Thank you.
Fuck yeah. I see clear. One hand ghetto style. Let's clear that rifle. That's it clear. 2:18:51. That was good.
Thank you.
Alright, awesome. Ready?
I'm ready.
Apparently you gotta start with a slug. Did you take your sling off?
Yeah.
Yeah, he told me you gotta start with a slung.
All right, let me go grab it.
You gotta start with a slung, right? Yeah.
Textured spray paint.
What's that?
Textured spray paint from Home Depot.
Spray paint from Home Depot?
Textured spray paint from Home
Oh.
Depot.
That way it's grippy?
Yeah.
That's smart. Alright. Yeah, you just gotta start with a slung and then you can unscrew it.
All right. All right.
You understand the course of fire?
Yep.
Good? No questions?
Nope.
Alright, shooter ready?
Yep.
Stand by. Nice and steady.
Well, this is going great.
You were too high.
Hi.
Yeah.
Dialed in, baby.
pistol. Left to right. Hit. 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 Unload choker. Alright.
Man.
16686. 16686. What was it? 16686.
Sporty.
Not great.
Wasn't no two something.
I thought you were going to do better than that, but
I also thought I was going to do better than that.
Are you ready?
I think so, yeah.
Stand by.
Left to right twice. Holster. You're good. Left window, then right window. Good. 5 targets from the left of the tape and the right of the tape. Good here, buddy. Right edge.
Pig then cow?
Cow.
What?
You're in the tree. Adjust up and down a little bit.
Oh, come on.
Load your rifle. Bend on. Good here, buddy. Spin it out. You got it.
All right. 208.24.
You don't have to retain your mags, right? I have no idea.
Shooter, are you ready?
Yep.
Stand by. Left to right. Hit, 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 hit. Same thing. Hit, 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 hit. Almost. Yep.
Howdy.
Howdy, howdy. Near to far, starting with the far left target.
All right, come on. Don't fail me now, Kel Tec.
Hit! Hit! Looks like you're a little low. Hit!
Oh, come on.
Hit! Just right. You're just right. Hit! Do it all over again. Hit! Just right. Hit! 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 Unload, show me clear. Yeah, alright. You're missing consistently right, just so you know. Next.
Yeah, thanks.
Yep.
Whew.
$192.
How's that? Decent?
I mean, it's,
Par for the course?
well, I mean, it's in the better quarter of everybody.
Sweet.
Like, typically, there's probably only 7, 8 people so far today that's been under 200.
Okay, cool. I'll take it. Okay, so now as far as the gear I was using, we'll go ahead and start as usual with the boring stuff and then move to the interesting stuff. So first things first is pistol mags. For every stage, I always had 2 spare pistol mags on my belt, and then I started with one either in the gun or, you know, on my person somewhere, not in the mag pouches, so in a pocket or something. This is just a cheap Blackhawk double stack mag pouch. So just had this on my belt, and that's how I did pistol mag stuff. The holster for the pistol is Filster Floodlight. This is for the TLR1. No complaints about the holster. It does fine. I have some 3D printed spacers in there because I lost the rubber ones. And then if you watched last year's match, it's the same match. I had a latch in here. So there's a 3D printed latch that I could hit, and it acted as a way to actively retain the gun. So, you know, when the gun was in the holster, the latch would lock onto that rear shelf of the light. I ended up taking it out mainly because the 3D printed spring had taken a set and it didn't have the spring pressure that I needed in order to really retain the gun. Getting comfy? Yep. She's a good dog. Yeah. So I didn't have time to print a new one and get it to, you know, fit and everything like that. So I just decided to take it out, and what I did is I just, you know, I put the rubber pieces back in there and tightened this down pretty tight, so that way I didn't really have to worry about the gun coming out of the holster. I did worry a little bit that the gun would come out. However, in the scenarios where I was concerned about it, I just, you know, held onto the gun and made sure it didn't come out. So it was never really a problem. Now, the last piece of gear is the plate carrier. So the carrier itself is a Ferro Concepts Slickster. As you see, I'm running it slick. I didn't use rifle magazine pouches because it comes with the built-in side pouches, so I just kept my rifle magazines in there, and that worked fine. It's not the most comfortable because the magazines do sort of dig into your sides a little bit, but you know, I don't make a living wearing a plate carrier, so you know, for a 8-hour match, it's fine. The plates, they are not real armor plates. They are some RX Plus training plates, so they're just a steel plate in there. The front and back plate together weigh slightly under 15 pounds, so that way when you add the carrier, your carrier setup slick weighs, you know, right at 15 pounds, and that's good because the division I competed in the Proving Grounds match was the men's intermediate division, and the weight requirement for that division is 15 pounds, and that weight is slick, so you know, just the carrier, no magazines, no water, nothing like that. So these plates work just fine for that. Now, as far as guns go, pistol is rocking my Steyr. So this is the L9A2 MF. I decided that I had been using the Archon probably too much recently, so I decided to switch it up and run the Steyr. The way I have it set up, you see I have a Holosun EPS up on top. The Steyrs do not come cut for optics. I had to send the slide out to get milled. The milling was done by Chris Richardson at Fabricated Arms. I'll go ahead and leave a link to his Instagram below, so that way if there's anyone else out there that has a Steyr and wants to run it with an optic, reach out to him and he should be able to help you out. The light is a, you know, as the holster requires, is a TLR1 HL. The light was purely there so that way I could, you know, use it with that holster. I didn't need the light for this competition really in any way. So then, okay, that's rifle's a little chunky, so I'm gonna leave it down there. Rifle is the Kel Tec RDB. So first things first, the suppressor I'm using is the Silencer Co. Omega 36M. For this match, I ran it in the long configuration. There's no real reason I chose that. It's just what I opted to do. That ring that everyone always asks about, that's the rear mount for the Magpul suppressor cover. The muzzle device that it's mounted to is a Silencer Co. ASR 3-prong flash hider. So the rail is the, what is it, the Lucky Irishman Rhino rail for the 20-inch version of the RDB. I'm using the Magpul hand stop.
I forgot to mention it, but I'm also using a Harris 2 M-Lock stud adapter, so that way I can run my Harris style bipod.
Optic is the March 1.5 to 15 dual focal plane scope. Very nice scope. If you're familiar with the channel, you've seen it a lot. Sling for the rifle This is just the cheap sling that came with the Kel Tec RDB, so that's what I was using for the sling. So that's pretty much all the gear I used at the match. The only other thing was I used a small little Caldwell bag on I used a small little Caldwell bag on one of the stages. But yeah. So we will now go ahead and go look at each stage, and I'll talk about each stage, what went well, what didn't go well, and then wrap up the video. Alright, so the first stage of the day was stage 3 for me. Of course, first thing in the morning, the first stage we have to get wet, go figure. This day was a fairly cool morning. I think it was like 45 degrees when we started, so it wasn't really warm, but luckily that just meant that the day was going to get warmer, so it wasn't a huge deal getting wet right away. As far as the stage itself goes, I was doing fine up until the gun malfunctioned, and then obviously I had to spend a lot of time clearing the malfunctions on the gun. So what is happening here is that the gassing on my rifle is not right. I think the issue is that at first it was overgassed. So the issue first was that it was slightly undergassed, and then when I tried to increase the gas to it, I accidentally twisted the knob the wrong way. So instead of increasing the gas, I made it worse. So didn't really cause me a huge amount of issue on this stage, but that's why on the next stage it was even worse than it was on this stage, because I didn't have enough gas. Now luckily the rifle portion wasn't too bad. I did have an issue with my zero, and that didn't cause a huge amount of problem on this stage, but it comes up later, so I figured I'd mention it now. Once we get done with that, move on to pistol stuff. Now, I did pretty good with the pistol. I did have one little malfunction right here, and basically what that was when I got done with that first target string and I holstered the gun, I have to have my holster pretty tight because, I don't want it to come out, and so it pushed the slide back slightly out of battery, and when I drew the gun, the slide didn't go all the way back forward into battery, so when I tried to pull the trigger, it didn't go off. But other than that, it went pretty well. One other thing with the Steyr that I want to mention is that the slide itself is short. Like height wise, it's short, and there's not a whole lot to grab onto. So sometimes when you try to pull the slide back, it's kind of challenging sometimes. This stage was pretty similar to how we had to do it last time. Last year we did a stage in this creek as well. It had the same sort of thing where you run down the creek, grab a flag, and bring it back. It was surprisingly challenging physically, which is not something that I was expecting, and I got that also from the other competitors on my squad. Is that most of them saw this and were like, "Oh yeah, no, it's okay. You're not really running that far." But once you get down there and start running back, on the way back, you're like, "Oh man, this is a lot harder than I thought it was going to be." So finish this stage, we'll move on to the next one. Alright, so now on to stage 4. So like I said with the last stage, I had an issue with the gassing. Now the reason I had that issue was because I had to switch ammo for this match. The ammo I normally use, I buy it from a local guy that reloads it, and he had just sold all of his ammo at a gun show, so he didn't have any in stock to sell me, so I had to buy some from just a retail store. I ended up buying some Herders 5.56 from Cabela's, Bass Pro, whatever. And unfortunately, I didn't get the opportunity really to verify my zero that well, or obviously the gassing on my rifle that well. So I ended up actually zeroing the gun and function checking the day of the match, before the match. So I got a really rough zero. It ended up being off by about a mil, so I was about a mil low. Sorry, the bolts were hitting about a mil high and then slightly right. So that was the main issue that I had on this stage, was I had to figure out that zero on the clock. These targets were a bit further away than the previous stage, so on the previous stage, the fact that my zero was off
didn't matter as much, whereas on this stage they're far enough away and they were small enough where that bad zero actually mattered. One of the things I did think was weird was I would get strings of fire out of the RDB that where it would work just fine. So once I get, you know, in this truck, the rifle seems to work for this entire string just fine, whereas on the barricade it was basically a bolt action rifle. I don't know if that's an issue with herders just being super inconsistent. It's been okay for me in the past. I don't know. But lessons for next time is do more testing. I did end up kind of bonking the GoPro on the ceiling here, so the camera got tilted up on accident. My bad. Oh well, you can still see all the targets, so it worked out in the end. I'll probably speed it up through here. I don't really have a huge amount to say relative to how long the stage is, so I'll speed this part up. But I get through the rifle stuff, take the keg back. Just a quick note. So these implements that you're carrying, so the water jug was not full, and the keg was obviously not full. So weight-wise, they weren't too bad. They probably weighed 20 pounds a piece. Finally get to the pistol stuff and finish off the stage without too much trouble. Luckily, my time, even with the malfunctions, was relatively good, so the stage could have gone a lot worse. Alright, so this was probably my favorite stage of the day. I don't know, it was a fun stage. Now between the last stage and this stage, I did mess with my gas system a bit, and then I got permission from an RO to do a function check on one of the previous stages while no one was. There was a kind of lull where the next squad hadn't got there yet, so I was able to, you know, use that stage to do a quick function check, and the rifle seemed to work okay, so I went into this stage confident that my rifle would work. So once I got on the jet ski, when we were doing the walkthrough, I was trying to kind of figure out how to shoot off this jet ski, and I ended up deciding to shoot off the back of it. As you can see, we weren't allowed to touch the ground at all, so your whole body had to be on the jet ski itself. No part of your body could leave it. So what I ended up doing was basically propping myself up on my elbows, and the issue is one of those branches out there in the lake there, one of those tree branches was sticking up kind of right in front of one of the targets, and so you had to make sure to get yourself up high enough so that way you didn't hit that branch. And then combine that with the fact that my zero is still a little bit off. You know, I didn't do super great on the rifle stuff on that section, but I did make it through it in a reasonable amount of time. Head up the hill to the next position. Luckily, I don't really have any issues with my pistol at all this day. Make it through this section without a huge amount of problems. Now on this stage we did have to retain our magazines. That has not been a requirement in the past. However, for proving grounds they're going to start requiring that on certain stages because it just helps the match run smoother. Now this section I thought was pretty fun because this to me is an example of where the March scope proves itself as a dual optic, because, you know, if I was limited to, you know, 2 to 2.5 power, that section might have been a little bit slower, but I think the March did very well there.
Hit! 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 Hit!
Finish up the rifle, start heading back. One of the things, I keep doing this and I think it's fun, and I'll probably keep doing it because, you know, it's fun. I was joking with the RO saying that when I get back I'm gonna shoot the last target one-handed sideways because, you know, it's funny. And so of course when I get back here I pull out my pistol, load it, and then finish off the last target gangsta style. No real reason to do that, I just think it's funny. On to the next stage.
Alright, Austin, you ready?
I'm ready.
Apparently you gotta start with a slug. Did you take your sling off?
Yeah.
Yeah, he told me you gotta start with a slung.
Alright, let me go grab it.
You gotta start with a slung, right? Yeah.
Alright, so now for stage 6. So first things first on this stage, I messed up the camera because I forgot that I had turned my camera on. So after the timer goes off, I get over to the prop and I think that my camera is off. So I hit the button on the GoPro to start recording, and I hear it beep immediately, which means that it's turning off. And so I knew, oh no, it was recording. I just, thought it wasn't. So I miss the first shot that I take. Basically, you only miss the first shot and the first penalty run because, I get down, take the shot, miss, have to get up and run the brick, and on the way back with the brick, I turn the GoPro back on. So you didn't really miss a whole lot, just that one miss, which, hey, as we all know, if it wasn't on camera, it didn't happen. Now, unfortunately, I missed after that and, had to run the brick back. Now, this is where the zero issue really hurt me because I had to make those 2 penalty runs. Luckily, the people on my squad, said, hey, you're missing high. And after this, I, finished the rest of the stage with no misses on the rifle. So luckily, I had some helpful competitors with me. That's one of the great things about these matches is that, yeah, it's a competition and people are there to win, but it's not so competitive that people are willing to let you, bomb a stage just so that they get an advantage and they have a better chance at winning. That's not really the mindset of a lot of the competitors I compete with, which is really nice because, there are a lot of sports where if you start making mistakes, everyone's so competitive, they're just going to let you keep making mistakes so that way they get an advantage. And that's just not this. I was definitely taking my time, making sure that I got nice and steady, took nice solid trigger pulls, especially since, this gun has a tendency to double fire. I didn't want to fire 2 and have Cam make me run because Cameron would absolutely make me run if I accidentally doubled. But yeah, make it through the rifle, move on to pistol. These targets were relatively small and kind of far away, so they were challenging, but make it through it and finish off the stage.
Man.
Alright, and now for stage 1. This stage was interesting. You had to start with all your gear off and put it all on. And this definitely cost me a lot of time. I don't have a battle belt that I can just throw on. I have to put everything on individually. And then so if you notice there, I had my little green Caldwell bag with me, but I ended up deciding to leave it there because I ultimately, at that second, I decided, I don't need it. So I just left it there. Now, one of the things when I put my gear on, I did not do the cummerbund straps around my side, so my carrier is just kind of flopping around on me. You had to shoot all these targets off this balance beam, which, I don't know, for me was fine. I didn't find it really challenging at all. I actually missed this stage briefing, so I didn't realize you had to hot holster there.
Left window, then right window.
Now I made it through that first section of pistol with no misses, and then start missing a bunch on these. It's funny how that works. Yeah, make it through those. Not super smoothly, but I do make it.
Good.
Now, after that, move up here. So I think this was probably the hardest rifle shots of the day, mainly because these targets were just really hard to see. Now, on the first stage of the day, when I started having malfunctions with my rifle, one of the things I really strongly considered was switching to my backup rifle. So I did bring a backup, and that was the Springfield Hellion, and I really should have just switched to it, but I decided not to. But if I had switched to it, this stage would have given me the most trouble, because doing this stage with irons would have been rough, because I would have just had to use irons. I didn't have enough time to move the optic and re-zero the optic, so I would have had to use irons on the Hellion. Apparently at some point I start hitting tree branches. These first 2 rifle targets were really hard to spot misses because there's no backdrop. I think I've said in previous matches that Chad really likes to put his targets where you don't really get any feedback if you miss, and that was definitely true for this stage. Now, go figure, of course, the last target, gun malfunctions. Eventually finish off the rifle and then make my way back. And I ended up dropping a mag on this sprint back. Luckily, I don't think on this stage that was actually a penalty, but still not ideal. So you ring the plate, and you bring this stage to an end.
208-24.
All right, and the last stage of the day is I guess this is the closest thing we got to a jungle run today. It's still early in the year, so there's not a whole lot of underbrush. So it's not quite a jungle quite yet, but get through these first pistol targets, no problem. This tire, I don't know, the tire was kind of, like, it wasn't heavy at all. It weighed probably like 10 pounds, so it was kind of silly. But by the end of the day, I wasn't really going to complain about that.
Almost.
Now I decided to reload before starting the spinner, and then I proceed to do the spinner fairly easily, no real problems. These spinners that they have been using here, they're very cooperative, I'll put it that way. They're not super difficult to get spinning. Then of course, the last stage of the day, we get wet again. So I start the day wet and end the day wet, go figure. Then climb up the bank, and then move on to rifle.
Howdy. Howdy, howdy. Near to far, starting with the far left target.
All right, come on. Don't fail me now, Kel Tec.
So, again, issues with my zero, so issues on this stage. These were the farthest targets of the day. I also start having malfunctions again, so I'm not sure exactly what the issue is anymore. Like I said, between stages 4 and 5, I had messed with the gas, and I thought it had fixed the issue, but it clearly didn't. I had one malfunction on the previous stage, and then I had a few on this stage. So I don't know. It seemed like the gun was still a little bit undergassed, so maybe that's all it was. Luckily, the malfunctions didn't really seem to cost me a whole lot of time. They were pretty simple to clear. I didn't have to, strip the mag and, charge the rifle every single time. I was pretty much able to always just, charge the rifle and move on, which for these type of stages where we're not doing a whole lot of just, burn it down stuff, that it doesn't cost you a huge amount of time. So one of the things I thought was funny is when I got done with the rifle stuff on that, I turned around and moved to the canal, and then looked down and go, that's not the way I came up, and then realize I had to go around. Drag that tire back and then finish off the stage. And with that, I'll wrap up the match.
Yep.
So just real quick, I'll go over how I placed. I placed 13th overall out of 77 and 10th out of 30 within men's intermediate. So I think I did pretty well, especially considering I spent a lot of time clearing malfunctions. So overall, I'd say I'm pretty happy with how this match went.
So after seeing the footage, you will know that I had a lot of problems with the RDB this time around. So if you watched my video I posted not too long ago about the team Proving Grounds match I did, I used basically this exact same setup, and in that match it ran flawlessly. However, at this match, I had a lot of problems with it. So one thing I will say right off the bat, so I did bring a backup rifle for the match. So the backup I brought was the Springfield Hellion. It didn't have any optics. I would have had to run it iron sights, but I have a feeling that even with iron sights, I probably would have done better with it than if I had, kept fighting the RDB all day. The only stage I would have struggled on would be stage 1, mainly because even with the optic, those targets were pretty hard to see. So doing that with irons would have been rough, but oh well. Would have been fun to try. So the main cause of the issues was the fact that I had to switch ammo right before the match. So the ammo I normally use is this stuff. So this is from Load Up Ammunition. It's a local guy to me. He's in Augusta, Georgia. He reloads all sorts of ammo and he sells it. It's not necessarily the cheapest stuff, so he sells this for right at 50 cents a piece, which isn't atrocious or anything. I know I can get it cheaper. However, he's a local guy, small business, so I decide to support him as opposed to, saving 5 sets around and buying from somebody else. So that's who I normally use for ammo. However, this time around, he had just sold all of his ammo at a gun store. He didn't have enough to sell. So I had to sort of last minute buy some different ammo. And this is what I got this time around. So, Herder's 55 grain 5.56. So the main issue with switching ammo is the gas system on the RDB, in my experience, is kind of sensitive to what ammo you're running. So if you switch ammo, like in my case, from a 223 load to a 5.56 load, you're going to have more gas pressure, and so the gun is going to run harder. Now, if the difference isn't that extreme, then you have no problem. However, in this case, I had noticed that it seemed to be overgassed, and unfortunately, I didn't really have enough time to actually verify that was the case. The main issue was when I zeroed the gun, I noticed that the gun was overgassed, and I backed off the gas too much, and I made it undergassed. So, you can't win sometimes. So that's definitely something, if you're planning on competing in one of these matches, make sure you have a good zero. If you have an adjustable gas system, make sure it's adjusted right. Hopefully you don't have the issues I had. So that's the match. That's all the stages. It went fairly well, especially given how many times my gun malfunctioned. Luckily, I was able to recover fairly easily from all those, but, it would have been nice if I didn't have those. I think, obviously, if I decide to use the RDB again, I'll definitely have to make sure to, verify that the ammo I'm using actually works with the gun. I'll have to, make sure my zero's pretty good. It's always disappointing when you show up to a match and then you have these sorts of issues that are really easily solvable and you just, didn't take the time to prevent them from happening. But you can't win them all, so it is what it is. But yeah, so I think that's all I have for this match. If you have any questions about this match or any other match, whatever, just go ahead and leave your comments below. I'll get around to answering those questions if they need to be answered. And I'll see you on the next video.